Right now, somewhere in this world, someone is staring at their phone. They're scrolling through an empty conversation, reading the same messages over and over again, looking at the last text their ex sent, the one that ended with silence. And they're wondering over and over what they did wrong. Do you know this feeling? Because if you're here, if your chest tightens when you think about someone who walked away, then I need you to listen to me very carefully. I have something to tell you tonight that might change everything, and I'm only going to ask one thing from you. Stay until the end, because what I'm about to share with you is the thing that nobody told you, the thing that could bring them back, not with games, not with manipulation, but with a power that's already inside of you. Let's be honest about something. The pain you're carrying right now is not just about missing them. It's about the way they made you feel invisible. It's about the silence that followed. It's about sitting with questions that never got answered. Why did they leave? Was I ever enough? Could I have done something different? These questions live in you like an open wound. They show up when you wake up. They follow you through your day. And they scream the loudest when the night comes, and you're alone with your thoughts again. I know this because I've seen it so many times. People who loved deeply, people who gave everything, and they got nothing back except a closed door and a person who acted like they never mattered at all. And the worst part, you didn't even see it coming. They were there, and then they were gone, like you never existed in the first place. So let me ask you something else. Did they tell you why they left? Did they sit you down and explain their heart? Or did they just disappear? Did they let the distance grow slowly until one day you realized they were already gone, emotionally, mentally gone, and you were the last one to know? That's the cruelest part of it all, not just being left, but being left without understanding, without closure, without someone who looked you in the eyes and said, I see you, I know this hurts, and I'm sorry. Nobody gave you that, and that's why you're still stuck. But here's what I want you to understand tonight. You are not broken. You are not too much. You are not the reason they left. The person who walked away from you, they were running from something inside themselves. And I'm going to tell you exactly what that something is. I'm going to show you why they ran. And more importantly, I'm going to show you exactly what to do tonight so that they come back, not crawling, not out of pity, but because they finally realized what they lost. This is not a trick. This is not fake hope. This is psychology. This is science. This is the way the human brain works when someone walks away and the distance becomes too big to ignore. And the best part, you don't have to do anything complicated. You don't have to send another message. You don't have to call. You don't have to wait by your phone hoping they'll text. Tonight, you're going to do something so simple that most people will never believe it could work. It will feel wrong at first. Every instinct in your body will tell you to reach out, to check their profile, to see if they've posted anything, to see if they're thinking about you too. And I'm going to tell you right now, don't do any of that, not because you don't care, but because what you're about to do is so powerful that it will do the work for you. If you stay with me until the end of this video, you will know exactly what to do tonight. And by tomorrow morning, something inside that avoidant person will shift. They will wake up thinking about you. They will feel the absence like a punch in their chest, and they won't be able to explain why. But only if you listen, only if you trust this process, only if you do exactly what I tell you tonight. So keep watching, because what I'm about to give you is not just advice, it's a transformation. And it starts right now. So let's talk about what you've been doing. Let's pull back the curtain and look at the reality of the situation, because right now, even if you don't want to admit it, you've been running on the same broken cycle, over and over, the same moves, the same mistakes, and I promise you, I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm saying this because if you don't see what you've been doing wrong, you will keep doing it wrong, and you will keep losing. Think about the last few days, or weeks, or maybe even months. What did your nights look like? I'll tell you what they looked like. You wrote messages you never sent. You opened the chat, typed something, deleted it, typed again, deleted it again, sat there with your heart pounding, trying to figure out the exact right words that would make them feel what you felt, the words that would bring them back. And in the end, maybe you sent them. Maybe you sent 5 messages in a row. Maybe you sent one long paragraph explaining everything you felt. Maybe you apologized for things you didn't even do. And what happened? Did they respond the way you hoped? No. They either said nothing, or they said something cold, something distant, something that made you feel even smaller than you already felt. And what did you do after that silence? You sent another message, because you couldn't handle the quiet, because the silence felt worse than any answer. You thought maybe if you just explained better, maybe if they just understood, maybe if they just saw how much you still cared. So you tried again and again and again. This is the graveyard I'm talking about. This is the pattern that has never worked, and I need you to see it clearly because it's the foundation of everything I'm about to teach you tonight. You have been chasing, and every single time you chased, they ran further. Let me paint this picture for you. Imagine someone is standing on the edge of a cliff, and every time you move toward them, they step back. You move forward again. They step back again. You start to jog. They start to run. And eventually, they jump off the cliff just to get away from you. Now ask yourself, were you chasing them because they were in danger, or were you pushing them into danger without even knowing it? That's what's been happening. Every message you sent in desperation, every late-night text asking if they were okay, every "I miss you" that you couldn't hold back, your avoidant person did not hear love. They heard pressure. They heard someone who needed them to fill a hole, and their brain, the part that protects them from exactly this kind of emotional weight, kicked into survival mode. They saw you coming, and their body told them to run, so they ran. And you chased harder, and they ran further. This is not love failing, this is strategy failing. And I want you to feel the weight of that difference because it will set you free. You were not failing at love, you were failing at the approach, and that's something you can change. The begging, the explaining, the checking if they saw your story, the refreshing their profile every 5 minutes, the showing up in places you knew they would be, the asking mutual friends how they were doing. All of it, every single move you made, was a form of pursuit. And every form of pursuit told their nervous system one thing: danger, suffocation, need. They didn't leave because they stopped caring about you. They left because your love started to feel like a demand they couldn't meet. And when someone feels trapped, they don't stay and negotiate. They bite and run. But here's the part that nobody tells you. This trap you fell into, it doesn't define you. It doesn't mean you're unworthy of love. It doesn't mean you're broken beyond repair. It means you were human. You felt something. You held on too tight. And now you know better. And knowing better is where the power begins. So now that you see the pattern, let's understand who you've been dealing with. This is the part most people skip. They don't bother learning about the person who left them. They just feel the pain and react to it. But if you want to win this game, you have to understand the player, not just their actions, their mind, their patterns, their programming. Let me introduce you to what psychologists call the avoidant attachment style. This is not a diagnosis. This is not a disease. This is simply a way some people's hearts were wired to protect themselves. And once you understand this wiring, everything about their behavior will start to make sense. The leaving, the silence, the way they could walk away so easily, the way they never seemed to miss you, the way you missed them. Here's the truth nobody told you. When an avoidant person fell in love with you, it was real. The way they felt about you in the beginning, and the excitement, the connection, the wanting to be close to you, that was genuine. They weren't lying when they looked at you and said those words. They weren't pretending. They meant it. So why did they leave? Because something inside them couldn't hold the weight of what came next. Let me explain what happens inside an avoidance brain when things start to get serious. In the early stages of a relationship, everything is light. It's exciting. It's new. There's space between you. There's mystery. There's freedom. And this feels amazing to an avoidant person because their nervous system is calm. They're not triggered. They're not afraid. But then time passes. Intimacy deepens. You start to need them in bigger ways. You want more closeness, more consistency, more presence. And for most people, this is beautiful. But for an avoidant person, this is where the alarm starts to sound. Their brain, without them even choosing it, starts to link intimacy with danger. It's not logical, it's not fair, but it's real. Something in their history, maybe from childhood, maybe from past wounds, created a shortcut in their brain. And that shortcut says, when someone gets too close, the safest thing to do is pull away. Not because they don't want to stay, but because their body is trying to protect them from something their mind can't even identify. Think of it like this. Imagine someone who grew up learning that crying would get them in trouble, that showing need would make people leave, that depending on others was dangerous. Their brain built a wall, and for a long time, that wall kept them safe. But now here you are, someone they love, someone who wants to get closer, and their brain sees that closeness and it says, put the wall up, protect yourself. So they do. They pull away. They create distance. They start to feel suffocated even when you're just being normal. They start to resent the very thing they wanted in the beginning. And eventually, they leave. Not because they stopped loving you, but because your love started to feel like an emergency. They couldn't escape. This is the part that breaks people, because when an avoidant leaves, they don't look back. They go cold. They move on quickly. They seem like they don't care at all. And you sit there thinking, how can they just walk away like nothing happened? But I need you to hear this. That coldness is not the truth. That coldness is armor. Behind it is a person who learned very early that showing vulnerability gets you hurt. So they stopped showing it. They stopped feeling it. They built a life where nobody could reach them. And when you got close enough to trigger that old wound, their defense system activated. They are not emotionally dead. They are emotionally defended. And here's what you need to understand tonight. You didn't break them. You didn't fail them. You simply got too close to a place that was never meant to be touched. And when you touched it, their instinct told them to run. But here's the other side of it. The same wiring that makes them run from closeness is the same wiring that makes them desperate for it once it's gone. Because an avoidant person doesn't stop wanting love. They just learn to suppress it. And when you take love away from someone who suppressed it, something wakes up. Something awakens that they buried a long time ago. That's why what you're going to do tonight is so powerful. Because you're not going to fight them. You're not going to chase them. You're going to remove yourself completely. And when you do that, the wall they built starts to lose its purpose. Without anyone pushing against it, the wall starts to feel unnecessary. And in that moment, they will start to remember what it felt like to want someone without fear getting in the way. Now let's talk about the mistake that cost you everything. And I want you to really sit with this, because what I'm about to say might contradict everything you believed was right. Every time you reached out thinking you were fighting for love, you were actually feeding the problem. Every time you sent that message hoping it would change their mind, you were pushing them further into the hole they dug to escape you. This is the paradox nobody talks about. The more you loved them, the harder you tried. And the harder you tried, the faster they ran. Let me show you exactly why this happens. When you sent that first message after they went quiet, what did it communicate? On the surface, it said, I still care about you. I still want you. But underneath that surface message, something else was being transmitted. A signal, a frequency. And that signal said, I cannot be okay without you. Now hear me out. That's not a crime. That's not wrong. When you love someone and they start to pull away, of course you want to reach out. Of course you want to close the gap. Your heart is doing what hearts do. It's chasing what it loves. That's human. That's beautiful, even. But here's what an avoidant brain hears when it picks up that signal. It hears need. It hears desperation. And desperation, to a person whose entire existence is built around avoiding emotional overwhelm, sounds like a warning. It sounds like pressure. It sounds like someone standing at their door demanding they open up before they're ready. So they don't open up. They shut down. Every message you sent after that silence was another data point your avoidant person collected. Another piece of evidence their brain used to confirm something dangerous. They started to feel like you needed them more than you needed yourself. And when someone feels like you need them to survive, they don't feel loved. They feel responsible. And responsibility, for an avoidant person, is the fastest route to wanting to disappear. Think about it this way. Imagine someone loves you deeply, but every time you try to breathe, they grab your hand and say, don't go, stay with me. You can't leave me. At first you feel touched, you feel seen. But if this happens every single day, the feeling starts to change. It stops feeling like love and starts feeling like a trap. You start to feel like you're drowning in someone else's need, and the only thing your mind can think about is how to get back to the surface. That is exactly what was happening on their end. They weren't rejecting your love. They were rejecting the weight your love came with. And I know that hurts to hear. I know you never meant to make them feel suffocated. You were just hurting. You were just trying to hold on. But the road to ruin is paved with good intentions, and the intention to love someone into staying will always, always backfire. Here's another layer you need to see. When you chased them, you also gave away your power. Every message you sent, every call you made, every time you showed up where they were, you were communicating something you didn't even realize you were communicating. You were telling them, I will stay available no matter how you treat me. I will keep trying even when you go silent. I am not a person with boundaries. I am a person who will orbit you until you decide I'm worth something. And that message doesn't make someone want to come back. It makes them feel even more certain that leaving was the right choice, because someone who chases without pausing doesn't look strong. They don't look like a prize. They look like someone who can't stand on their own. And deep down, every human being is drawn to someone who can stand alone. Even when they say they want closeness, the person they're truly drawn to is someone who doesn't need them to survive. You were so busy trying to bring them back that you forgot to show them you could exist without them. And that absence of self, that visible desperation, made you less attractive, not more. This is the cruel truth about love. The more desperately you cling, the faster it slips through your fingers. Not because love is cruel, but because human psychology was designed this way. We are wired to move towards strength and away from need. We are drawn to people who make us feel safe, not people who make us feel responsible for their emotional survival. So every text you sent, every explanation you wrote, every late-night attempt to make them understand, all of it was being processed by their brain as evidence that you were not the safe place they were looking for. You were another demand, another weight, another reason to stay on guard, and that is why they never came back. But tonight, that changes, because now you understand what was really happening. You understand that your love was not the problem. Your approach was the problem. An approach is something you can change.